I halted in my steps, stunned to see the last person I was expecting standing at the entrance of the ballroom with a sly smirk on her face. Her eyes scanned the crowded room like she was looking for something or someone until they settled on me, and her smirk widened even more. She waved sassily at me before walking in my direction, swaying her hips. "Hello, sister, I'm surprised to see you here," Katrona said when she got to where I stood. "I see nothing surprising with my presence here. I'm sure you are aware of the friendship between the Nishas and Silvio." I answered blankly. "You, on the other hand." It's true Silvio and Hades may not be that close, but still, King Andre was kind enough to extend his invitation. My eyes scanned the ballroom, trying to see if I could spot my father and mother, but the snapping of a finger in front of my face had my attention shifting back to the person in front of me. "You don't have to worry about bumping into mother and father as they were not able to make it, hence my reason for being here." I nodded, not really caring if they were here or not. "Well then, have a wonderful night." I walked away before she had the time to say anything, making my way to where Darium stood. A huge smile graced his face when I got to his side, and his arm instantly wrapped around my waist. "Is everything okay?" he asked, glancing behind me at Katrona, who had her eyes glued to our direction. "Yes, everything is fine. You don't have to worry about anything. She came to attend the ball in the stead of my father and mother, and nothing more." He stares down at me, running his fingers through my hair. "Are you sure her presence doesn't bother you? I won't mind having Andre throw her out the ball." I shake my head, refusing to go to that extent. That won't speak well of the king and queen if a guest from a royal family is being treated in such a manner. I can bear her presence for the night. Darium cupped my cheek, and his thumb caressed my skin. "Okay, then, since the night is still young, why don't you join me on the dance floor for another dance?" I laughed. "It will be my great pleasure," I said to him, placing my hand on his outstretched one, and he pulled us to the dance floor. I rested my head on his chest and my hands on his shoulder while his rested on my waist. Both of us moved to the beat of the song. My eyes closed, enjoying the feeling of being locked in Darium's embrace. We danced to not one but two songs, and even though I was beginning to get tired from standing, I still wanted to remain in his hold. "Queen Letitia." The sound of my name being called had me peeling my eyes open. I moved my head from Darium's chest, spinning around to see who had called me. "Alvar!" I beamed, watching the little boy race his way towards me with Zane behind him. He wrapped his arms around my waist, his head rested on my tummy, and I brushed my hand through his head, smiling at Zane, who was already standing beside him. "Letitia, you look beautiful and gracious as always." He complimented me, and I laughed, blushing a little. "Thanks, you look dashing as well." He grins, bowing slightly in a cocky manner, making not just me but Darium scoff. Zane's attention shifted from me to Darium. He glared in his eyes as he stared at his best friend, his lips cast down. "Darium, it's been a while. Do you know how hurt I was when you didn't come to visit? I thought we were friends, but I guess I was the delusional one to expect more, and now my heart has been shattered into two by your betrayal, but don't be disheartened, at least I still have Letitia and Nico." Zane says this dramatically, wiping the fake tears off his eyes. I struggled not to laugh while Darium rolled his eyes. "Can you be less annoying for a second?" he grumbles, causing the latter to place a hand on his chest. "Now I understand why the two of you became great friends," I mutter, causing both of their heads to spin in my direction. Darium had a scowl on his face, while Zane had a cheeky smile. "What is that supposed to mean?" Darium asked, his eyebrow creased. "You are so much alike." "No, we are not," he refutes. "Yes, you are." I said it again. "Both of you can be childish sometimes." "Letitia." He groans, not liking the fact that I said he acted like a child. "Oh, quit being sour." I teased him, pinching his cheek, and he pouted, causing me to laugh at how insanely cute he looked right now. Taking Alvar's hand, I walked away from the men to where Ophelia sat with other women her age. She looked bored to death and seemed to be waiting for an opportunity to escape whatever torture she was experiencing. "Queen Ophelia," I called out to her, causing her head to shoot up, with a smile gracing her face. Queen Letitia. She beamed, getting up to her feet. Ladies, I truly enjoyed our conversation, but I apologize as the Queen needs my attention. She said this, trying to look as remorseful about her departure as possible. The ladies nodded, carrying on with their conversation, and Ophelia clapped her hand around mine, dragging me away from their table to the other side of the ballroom meant for the royals, where we were able to find a seat. Alvar, dear. It's nice to see you again. She said this to the little boy beside me. It's nice to see you again, Queen Ophelia. Alvar answered politely. I'm surprised to see him here, since children aren't allowed at such a ball. Darium thinks it would be a wise decision to get him exposed to things like this as a way of teaching him or something. I answered, remembering earlier today when he had informed me about Alvar's attendance tonight. I wasn't really up for him attending the ball meant for adults, but Darium thinks otherwise. From what Neith told me, their father, the former king, did the same to Darium. Taking him to meetings and balls at a young age is one of the reasons I decided to trust his decision. A loud squeal had my attention shifting to the dance floor, where Katrona stood along with a tall man in royal clothes. Do you know her? Ophelia asked, and I sighed, nodding. Unfortunately, I do. I answered after some time. She is my sister. I take it you are not close. I shake my head when answering her question. Like you said, let's have fun and let everything troubling us be pushed aside. At least for tonight. Ophelia chirped. How about an evening snack? The heavens know I'm starving. I would love that. I gird her, watching her get to her feet and walk over to where the varieties of food laid. She takes a plate, puts different foods on it, and picks up another to put the same amount of food on it. I couldn't help but laugh at the quantity of food on the plate. I guess she was really hungry. My focus didn't last long on Ophelia as something caught not something, but a woman. She must have noticed my head turning in her direction because she immediately sprang around, laughing along with the ladies beside her. I continued to stare at her, trying to see if she was going to turn back to glance at me, but she didn't and carried on talking with the group of women. Maybe I was just being paranoid, because I could have sworn I saw her glaring at me. I was probably overthinking things, but you know that feeling of an eye shooting a hole into your skin? Shrugging it off, I take the plate of food from Ophelia, sending her a quick thank you, and the both of us start eating, with me feeding Alvar. The night carried on, with people dancing and celebrating. The people didn't seem to be at all tired as they continued to drink, chat, and dance. After spending up to 4 extra hours, I was exhausted and ready to call it a night. Kiva has already put Alvar to bed in a spare room in the palace, and Ophelia seemed tired, trying to force her eyes awake. I felt a hand on my shoulders and turned around to see Darium staring down at me lovingly while I tried to keep my eyes open. I guess it's time to call it a night. He says this, helping me up to my feet. His arm wrapped around my waist, and we were both about to make it out of the ball when his name was called. King Sviatoslavic, it will be a shame to see you leave when the night is still young. A man spoke. He had a crown on his head, but he was someone I didn't recognize. Darium, on the other hand, seemed to know who he was since his face was passive yet not dismissive. I'm afraid I will have to end the night here, King Moshev, Darium stated. What matters to me now is the health of my queen. King Moshev's eyes shifted to look at me, smiling politely. It's such a shame, I will be leaving first thing tomorrow, so we can't catch up. Gala can escort me back to our chamber, you can stay some more. Darium didn't like the idea, but I gave him a smile to let him know that I was going to be fine. I will be back in an hour. He tells me, and I nod as he leans down to peck my forehead. I walked out of the ballroom, heading down the hall to our chamber. The night was quiet as ever, with only the faint sound of music. I sighed when I walked into the room. Gala helped me out of my dress, setting a bath for me. After getting cleaned up and changed into my nightwear, I got under the quilt, struggling to keep my eyes open but falling miserably. I wasn't sure how long I was sleeping, but I doubt I was asleep for long since it was still dark outside and Darium wasn't back yet. I yawned, turning over to the other side of the bed and looking out the window. My heart almost jumped out of my chest when I saw a figure standing there. I hurriedly sat up from the bed, trying to get a closer look at the person there. The figure moving away from the moonlight to the other side of the room, turning on the light, and helping me get a proper look at who it was. "Katrona, what the hell are you doing here?" I asked, sighing in relief when I saw she was the one. "How did you get in here? You sure do have so many questions," she mumbles, walking over to me and taking a seat on the bed beside me. "Why are you here, Katrona?" I said it again, but this time my voice was more stern than before. "You don't need to be so bitter, I just wanted to check up on you and my dear nephew or niece," she replied, causing me to roll my eyes, knowing that there was no way she would come into my room late at night, concerned about me. "Since you have seen for yourself that I'm in fact okay, then I suggest you leave. I would like to rest, tonight has been hectic," I said, placing my hand on my stomach. Her eyes followed my action, and they turned hard for a second before being replaced by a smile, or was it a smirk? She gazed up at me. "It is adorable to see how protective you are over a baby that isn't born yet, but I guess it's understandable with what you and the king had to go through." My brow creased, having no clue what she was talking about. "What do you mean?" I was confused. The sly look in her eyes had me regretting indulging in whatever she was planning, but before I had the time to end the conversation, the word that left her lips left me stunned and shocked. "After the loss of your child, it's understandable why you are so protective of the child you are carrying." Darwin and I were walking side by side, taking a stroll around the palace. I kept stealing glances at him, worried that he might feel under the weather with his pale face. He held my hand and must have noticed the concern in my eyes, but didn't say anything, instead bringing my hand to his lips and kissing it as we continued our walk. We carried on walking, getting to the courtyard of the palace. The sound of noise and metal hitting each other caught our attention. We walked towards it to see Nico and another guard having friendly combat with other guards around. That wasn't what surprised me, it was the presence of Katrona sitting under a shade as she watched them. They noticed our presence and immediately stopped, bowing their heads. Darwin dismissed them and the guards left, leaving only Nico standing there, trying to catch his breath. Since the other guards had already caught sight of us, it was the same for my sister, and she got up from her shade, walking gracefully towards us with a smile on her face. Gala was also there, standing behind her. I gave her a small smile, which she returned before bowing her head. I plan on bargaining with Katrona for Gala to be given to me. I had no right to take her since she wasn't my personal maid but that of my sister, and the only way to take her was if she was given to me. I don't want Gala to go back to Hades. She had been the only friend I had and was like family to me, more like an elder sister since she was a year older. Snapping out of my thoughts, I stared at Katrona, who was already standing in front of us. She has only been here for 4 days, yet it seems like 4 years. Despite her quarter being so far from mine, we run into each other every single time, and sometimes I think she does it purposefully. I also tried to ignore the way she acted in front of the maids and servants, giving them orders and throwing tantrums when things didn't go her way. "King Sviatoslavic, sister." She greeted him with a sly smile on her lips. "I'm surprised to see you here. I thought you would be in your quarters, resting." I asked. I did intend to rest, but I was bored out of my mind, so I decided to explore the palace and just happened to stumble into the courtyard. I must say the view here is much better than being cooped up inside my chamber. It's not every day you get to see strong, ripped men going at each other. She responded, her eyes never once wavering from the king's face, and I wanted nothing more than to pluck them out of her, if it would get her to stop looking at him like that. I could still remember my wedding day. In Hades and her words as she described the king, calling him disgusting and barbaric. Yet here she was acting all swoony, hoping to get his attention. Care for a little friendly combat. Nico's words to the king were what drew me out of my thoughts once again. "It will be an honor to see your majesty in a combat fight, even if it's just a friendly one." Katrona gushed. "Heaven!" She was really trying hard to gain his attention, but Darium was anything but attentive to her and instead smirked at Nico, taking off his robe. He extended his hand to the center of the yard, and they both walked to it. "Don't you think there should be a bet on who wins?" Darium asked, taking a sword given to him by one of the guards. "What do you think we should bet on?" Nico responded, picking up his sword. Losses do each other's bidding for a whole year. Darium scoffed, shaking his head. I'm the king, I don't need a combat fight to get you to do what I want, I can just order you to, and you know you have no choice but to. His tone sounded arrogant, causing Nico to roll his eyes, mimicking his words. Yeah, but it would be nice to order you around for a change, just the thought of it brings a smile to my face. That is assuming you win, and we both know that as good as you aren't as good as me. Your arrogance can build a whole nation, that's how big it is. What can I say? I was born this way. I rolled my eyes at their never-ending banter before having enough. We are going to stay here till the sun sets if you keep on bickering on who is likely to win or not. I said, and they both smirked. Though we all know it's obviously going to be my husband, Darium's smirk widened even more. They both took a step back from each other with calculative eyes, watching each other move. Katrona and I moved over to the shade she had been sitting in, taking our seats. The king and you seem to be very close. Katrona's words had my face shifting from the man at the center to her. I raised an eyebrow, wondering where she was going. At first, I thought the two of them might have been putting on an act, trying to act all lovely, but from what I have heard from the maids in the palace, the king seems to worship the very ground you walk on. Her voice sounded bitter when she said that. I guess you can say so. I whispered, my lips stretching wide. It's kind of the same as your cognition between you and the king of Lumarin. King Sviatoslavic is nothing like the king of Lumarin. She mutters, glancing over at Darium, and I follow her line of sight. Nico and Darium were still at it, with Nico blocking the king's move and ending up cutting his arms deep enough to draw blood. Darium was able to subdue Nico, knocking him down to the ground, and the other remained there on the floor, letting out a defeated sigh, knowing that he had clearly lost. There is no doubt the king can be frightening, but he is no doubt a better fit for a true queen. Someone deserving by his side. I wasn't stupid enough not to know what she meant, her words were clear when she said a true queen. I thought he wasn't the kind of man you go for, if I remember correctly, he was nothing but barbaric. Well, people's thoughts change, and mine just happened to change. I see your intentions are clear now. I spat angrily. I knew you were lying when you said you came to reconcile our strained relationship. The only reason you are here is because you thought you could seduce the king. I bellowed. The throne was rightfully mine, I was meant to be his queen. The power and riches you have were supposed to be mine. She retorts. You are acting like I stole him from you. I abolished how quick you are to forget that I was married out in your stead because you were scared to be linked with someone like him. How was I supposed to know that the rumors about him were not so true? So now that you know, you think you could walk in here and try to take him back. I spat it out. Stop the act, sister, the only reason you are here is because you never expected him to choose me as his queen. After all, you all had expected the news of my death. I glared at her, causing her to clench her jaw because she knew I was right. I don't care what your reason is for coming, and I don't care what you do with the remainder of your days here, but I want you out of my palace immediately after the ball. You can't throw me out, my father and mother will be arriving tomorrow. Let's see if you still keep up with this pompous attitude. Oh, trust me, sister, the same rule applies to them. I said it coldly, not giving her a chance to say anything before walking out, going towards the king and Nico. Darium and Nico had already put aside their swords, with the king helping his friend with his injury by tying a clean cloth to it. His head shot up when he noticed my presence, and his eyes scanned my face for a while. Is everything okay? Your face looks pale. He asked, concerned. I'm fine. I tell him, glancing at his face. His eyes were red, and his breath seemed feverish. I think I should be the one worried about you, I said, placing my hand on his forehead to check his temperature. He moved away, giving me a weak smile. It's nothing, Letitia, he refutes. I better get back to the matters of the palace. He leaned down to peck my forehead before walking out of the courtyard. I sighed, watching his retreating back. Every time he worries about my health and freaks out when I have the simplest of colds, when it gets to his turn, he becomes stubborn, refusing to take any help. The sound of Nico laughing beside me had me turning my attention away from the empty hall the king had passed through to him. You know how he is, Letitia, he doesn't want you to see his weak side. He is human too, and it's normal to feel weak or down sometimes, he doesn't have to hide it. I complained, huffing. I'm sure he will be fine, you don't have to worry. He pats my back, causing me to sigh again. How about the little boy you saved? Neith and Celeste won't stop talking about him. They both adore him. I laughed, shaking my head. Yeah, I wasn't sure if he and Celeste were ever going to be friends, but now they are inseparable. I'm glad to hear that. Nico grinned. I better go get my wound treated, then check on Darium so he doesn't overwork himself. I nod, watching him walk out, then turn to the shade where Katrona was sitting to find the spot empty, wondering when she left before walking back into the palace. I moved towards Alvar's room, wanting to check on him since I hadn't seen him throughout the day. On my way there, I bumped into Gala. She beams at me, bowing down to greet me. Where are you going, my lady? Why don't you follow me and see? There is someone I want to introduce you to. Someone dear. Her eyes were filled with curiosity as she walked beside me to Alvar's room. I'm surprised my sister let you out of her sight. Since you arrived, she has refused to let us spend time together. I don't know if it's out of spite or the fact that she prefers your service to that of our maids. The princess had gone back to her room for a quick nap and won't be needing my help for an hour or two. Then I guess I have you all to myself. I squealed, taking a hold of her hand. We stopped in front of the door, and I knocked softly on it before pulling it open. Alvar was sitting on the bed with a book in his hand, his head shot up when I walked, and he had a huge grin on his face as he got down from the bed, his little feet running towards me. Queen Letitia. He beamed. I slouched down, catching him in my hold and lifting him up. My sweet boy. I cooed, and he laughed, hugging me. I turned to face Gala, who was looking at us in awe and curiosity. Gala, I want you to meet Alvar. He is like a son to me. I say, pinching his cheek, causing him to squeak. Alvar, meet Gala. She is someone I consider family. He shyly waves at her while Gala smiles at him. With him still in my arms, I walked back onto the bed, placing him on it, then climbed on. How was your day today? Alvar began rambling excitedly, telling me about his day and everything he had done, from the royal lesson Darium had assigned for him to spending time with Celeste, his new best friend. I wasn't sure how long I stayed listening, but our conversation was cut short by a knock on the door. Kiva walked in, bowing her head. Lady Letitia, would you like for your dinner to be brought here? She asked, and I nodded in response, watching as she walked out. I glanced at Gala, who tried to discreetly roll her eyes. I had introduced the two, expecting them to be friends, but somehow it seems like the opposite. They couldn't stand each other's presence, which was puzzling to me. I guess they still needed some time to warm up to each other.